Championship. He currently works for the Texas Junior Livestock Association and the Showbox magazine. In addition, he is the owner of SBCC, a cattle company and consulting firm that procures and supervises cattle for junior livestock projects. Brash's advice to the exhibitors is to enjoy the experience of showing as much as possible, even though life is a competition and you win some and lose some. He hopes to add to the unique laid-back atmosphere of the 2018 Arizona National Livestock Show. Please help me welcome Ryan to the ANLS of 2018.
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. A nice way to start the Hereford show with a logical class. And the female on top has to win for a variety of reasons. That's the best looking one in this class. With that, she's tremendous in terms of her body shape and build. And she's the soundest and surest of foot. When we put her in motion, does she want to arc and bubble in her top line ever so slightly when she drops her head? Yes, she does. But she's the easy thing to do in this particular class and a nice place to start. The heifer in second just has more body depth inside, one that's a little fuller in terms of her flank. She's bigger in terms of her bone. She's not as good in her look up front. She's not as powerful as the female in the lead, but I just like her body design and build to go second in this particular class. The heifer in three, green as gold. And her best days are ahead of her. She is beautiful in terms of the front 1/3 of her body, so correct in terms of her lines and balance. She's the frailest and most refined in terms of her bone and foot. She just has to be powered up, but that will come with days on feet, and she will be more competitive. The heifer that we close with, one that's deep-sided and long spine, a heifer that needs to be better in the way that she handles her hip. She's the driest in terms of her rib and the most uncoordinated when we put her in motion. Give them a nice round of applause.
In our first class, spring heifer calves, first place went to entry 6023, shown by Charlie Lemos. Second place went to entry 6326, shown by Kylie Davis. Third place went to entry 6034, shown by Caitlin Doors. And fourth place went to entry 6152, shown by Red Grant. Coming into the ring next will be class 1.1. We have entry 6154, shown by Justin Armstrong. Entry 5855, exhibited by Cameron Oakes. Entry 6147, shown by Kenzie Bequette. And entry 6035, shown by Caitlin Doors.
Another nice class, and two that are really contrasting on the top end in terms of type and kind. The female that wins is just more my type because she's more acceptable in terms of her show ring presence and look. She's a better headed heifer that's sweeter about her front end. She's good enough in the way that she goes at the ground. She does want to wobble out of her hock ever so slightly, and I realize that, but she's better in the terms of her range of motion off either end of her skeleton, and just a good looking fresh one that's got enough power and substance. The heifer in two is bolder bodied, and she has more shape and more capacity, and she's more dense in terms of her make, and I like those things about her. She's a heifer though that as we get her out and let her go, she gets awfully narrow at the ground. She's a little soft in terms of her pastures. Most importantly, you study her through the front 1/3 of her body. She's not as elite in her look or ladylike about her head and neck, but a powerful one. Young man's heifer that comes in three is better fronted, more attractive in terms of her design. She sways and settles in terms of her top line. She's not as correct from hock to ground. A heifer that doesn't have as much power or substance as the 1 and 2. We close the class with a long spine one that's got enough body shape. She really gets underneath herself in terms of her movement. Got to see her square and straighter in terms of her build to advance in this tough class. Give them a nice round of applause.
First place in Class 1.1 of the Open Hereford Show went to entry 5855, shown by Cameron Oakes. Second place went to entry 6035, shown by Caitlin Doris. Third place went to entry 6154, shown by Justin Armstrong. And fourth place went to entry 6147, shown by Kenzie Bequette. Coming into the ring next will be Class 2 Junior Heifer Calves. We have entry 2714, shown by Charlie Spindle. Entry 2718, shown by Bill King. Entry 2719, shown by Bill King. And entry 2717, shown by Bill King.
Interesting class out here, and to be honest with you, I can change or tweak all of them in terms of their structural integrity, call that a wash and judge them from there. The young lady in the red vest has the one that's the best looking because she holds a significant advantage in terms of her length and leanness of neck. With that, she's correct in terms of her body shape and proportions. She's square in her build, and she moves better off the front 1/3 of her skeleton than the heifer in 2 as you steady her through her shoulder and knee. If I'm going to change her, she needs to be more correct in the way that she goes from behind off to her rear too. And when you get her stopped on the side view profile, that heifer's shoulder isn't upstanding, and she doesn't tie her neck as high into the point of her shoulder or scapula as you like to see her, so she has a tendency to run downhill ever so slightly. That's getting really critical on one. That's the best looking, best built female in this class. There's more depth of side and more roundness of rib and more bone and foot in the heifer in 2, and I realize that. I appreciate those things about her. She's a heifer though that when we put her in motion really wants to snap, crackle, on top in terms of her pasterns. She wants to sway and settle in terms of her top line. She's thicker in her throat latch and deeper in her chest. The heifer in 3 is the most powerful. She has a ton of dimension and mass and design. With that, she comes coarser in her joints. She's not as good in terms of her look with the front 1/3 of her body, and a heifer that wants to roll from hock to ground and from knee to hoof wall when we study her up front. And the female that we close with, really attractive, good in terms of poison presence, has to have more body depth inside. She's got to be built wider from the ground up. Give them a nice round of applause.
First place in Class 2 of our Open Hereford Show with entry 2718, shown by Bill King. Second place went to entry 2717, shown by Bill King. Third place went to entry 2714, shown by Charlie Swindle. And fourth place went to entry 2719, shown by Bill King. We'll now be going into our Junior Heifer Calf Champion Drive. We'll be bringing in the first places from our previous classes. From our Class 1, entry 6023, shown by Charlie Lemos. From Class 1.1, entry 5855, shown by Cameron Oakes. And from our previous class, entry 2718, shown by Bill King. After all of our first places have come in the ring, we will be bringing in our seconds. From our first class, that would be entry 6326, shown by Kylie Davis. From our Class 1.1, that would be entry 6035, shown by Caitlin Doors. And from our previous class, that would be entry 2717, shown by Bill King.
Well, at this time, let's reward the calf exhibitors with a good round of applause. This has been an extremely good division, the toughest division that I've had the opportunity to sort over the past 3 days, and lots of good cattle out here. Be honest with you, I think if we could take all the positive and intriguing pieces of the first 3 and meld them into one package, then you'd have that Chinese ninja of Hereford calf females, because they do have a lot of positive things about them. They all have 1 or 2 things that I'd like to correct or change, and I think it's a decision that's worthy of some discussion. The female in the lead is one that you just love how deep and soft she is on her side. She's so correct in terms of her bone and foot, and yet she's still good enough in terms of her look. She's a heifer that, as we said, she wants to arc and bubble in terms of her top line. She's tighter in her spine than the 2 behind her, and she's a heifer that when you study her, she's just not quite as elite or out there in terms of her exaggeration of front end or head as the heifer right behind her. But she is one that's got a ton of power, still mobile enough, and has a lot of good things about her. She's further along in terms of her stage of condition than the heifer that's behind her, that is really, really green and fresh, and that's just the most beautiful one. If you just study her in terms of her lines and balance, she's so sweet and correct about her neck. Beautiful headed heifer, that's the best in terms of her line. She's the most fashionable, level out of her hip, and she's one that moves good enough. She's a heifer, as we said, ever so slightly wants to wobble out of her rear too, but that's getting critical on her. The decision on this female is there just enough punch and power when you get in behind her to let her go on and win this division. I think as she moves on and grows and matures, that will come. But here today, is there just enough power, substance, and dimension to let her be the division champion? And then the one that we close with at the back, we talked about her just recently as correct and outstanding in terms of her body build and shape, as the 2 in front of her, really tremendous in terms of her broodiness. A heifer that's not quite as collected or organized in terms of her skeleton. She's one that, as we said, wants to run downhill from the side view profile, not quite as elite in terms of her look. It's a close decision. The one that I would take home and show is the heifer out of Class 2. She'll be the champion. Congratulations to you.
Our champion junior heifer calf is entry 5855, exhibited by Cameron Oakes. We'll be bringing in our second from that class, entry 6035, shown by Caitlin Doors, to compete for reserve. The other second places are excused this time.
We follow up with second there, not to take anything away from her, but there's another female that I really think is impressive. That's the heifer out of Class 1, and she'll be the reserve division.
Our reserve junior heifer calf went to entry 6023, shown by Charlie Lemos. Coming into the ring next will be Class 3 Winter Heifer calves. We have entry 7703, exhibited by Madison Fisher.
Single entry class winner here, but the young lady definitely has one that can stand some competition, because just like the female that won the last class, just one that's beautiful as you study her in terms of her head carriage, really attractive and poised in terms of her lines and balance, and yet plenty deep in her side and round and robust in her rib. Moves good enough in terms of the way her range of motion. Maybe want to be just a little straight out of her hock ever so slightly, but that's getting critical on one that's going to line up very well in the division, and one that's very, very competitive. Give her a nice round of applause.
First place in Class 3 of our Open Hereford show went to entry 7703, exhibited by Madison Fisher. Coming into the ring next will be Class 4 Senior Heifer calves. We have entry 2706, shown by William Spindle, and entry 5854, shown by Kylan Oaks.
Right, a nice duo of females that are both extremely high quality. Again, it just comes to your personal preference and what type and kind you prefer, and that's the blondes in the front for me. Just one that's so much nicer and neater in terms of her look. She's leaner in terms of her composition. She's fresher in terms of her design. I just think that she's more ladylike in her overall balance, and yet she has some power and some substance to her. She's better in the way that she goes up front than the heifer in two. She is one that just wants to get a shade soft in terms of her rear posture, maybe a little long in her toe out here today, but one that's very, very nice. Young lady in the maroon shirt brings us one like the one she had in the previous class. Just tons of power, built like a Mack truck in terms of mass, design, and dimension. Again, a little coarser and more cold-blooded in terms of her look, not quite as mobile as the heifer that wins. But a good pair, give them a nice round of applause.
First place in Class 4 Senior Heifer Calves went to Kylan Oaks with entry 5854. Second place went to William Spindle with entry 2706. We'll bring back in our first place from our previous class, Madison Fisher with entry 7703. And our first place from this class, entry 5854, shown by Kylan Oaks to compete for our Fall Heifer Calf Champion. William Spindle with entry 2706 is our second and will follow in after the first have entered the ring.
Really another impressive division, only three, but three good ones. Please reward these young ladies with a nice round of applause. I think this is a close decision, and while both of these females combine a great deal of things that I admire in show cattle, they're a little different in the way that they're built and made. I'll describe those to you. No doubt the one that has the advantage in just presence and look is at the lead. That heifer is so much more correct in the way that her neck ties high at the top of her shoulder. She's longer and leaner and more attractive from her shoulder forward. With that, she's a longer-sided female. I like the way that her tail head sets just a little better than the heifer that comes out of the class 2. She's a female that just has a great deal of presence and arrogance about her. As you study her compared to the one behind her, is she as deep in her side or round and robust in her rib or soft in her flank? No, she's not. Is she a heifer that just wants to get a little tight out of the way that she handles her rear hog? Yes, she does. But I think she's more stable in terms of the way that she handles her rear pastern than the female behind her. Again, that's a heifer that's got enough mass and dimension. I'd like to body her down just a little and just make her a little broodier in terms of her overall composure out here compared to the heifer in 2. Would you just love the roundness of rib and how good she is in terms of her body cavity and build? Really tremendously stout and powerful. She's a big hip female that you really have to appreciate the bone and footwork that she displays. As we said, a little soft in terms of her pastern. She's not quite as good in the way that she's seamless from her shoulder to forerib as the heifer in front of her, and she's just one that's a little down-headed and not quite as attractive in terms of her overall look. It's a close decision. The better looking one is the one in front. She'll be the champion. We'll follow up with the young lady out of 2 as reserved. Give them a nice round of applause.
Our champion Fall Heifer Calf is entry 7703, shown by Madison Fisher. Our reserve went to entry 5854, shown by Kylan Oaks. Coming into the ring next will be Class 6 Early Summer Yearling Heifers. We have entry 6144, shown by Kagan McLeod.
single entry division winner here, and I think extension is the term that fits this one best. She's long as a well rope in terms of her side, yet attractive in terms of her look up front. She's a heifer that if she was more correctly built in terms of her hip, then she would be more secure in the way that she handled her hock and pastern. But again, a worthy winner. Give her a nice round of applause.
First place in Class 6 and our intermediate heifer champion went to entry 6144, shown by Kagan McQuedd. We'll ask Kagan to hang in the ring for a second while we bring back in our previous age division champions. From our junior heifer calf division, we have entry 5855, shown by Cameron Oakes. And from our fall heifer calf division, we have entry 7703, shown by Madison Fisher. After the champions have walked for a bit, we will bring in our reserves from those divisions. From our junior heifer calf, our reserve is entry 6023, shown by Charlie Lemos. And from our fall heifer calf division, our reserve is entry 5854, shown by Kylan Oakes.
Yeah, I got it. Madison, you'll be second.
Our grand champion Hereford female today will be receiving a banner sponsored by Three Rivers Ag Investments. Our reserve champion Hereford female will be receiving a banner sponsored by the Arizona National Livestock Show. As you hear me announce awards during the day that are sponsored by the Arizona National Livestock Show, those awards are open for sponsorship, and it's a good way to get your company's name out there.
And at this time, let's reward the Hereford female exhibitors with a really nice round of applause. I definitely appreciate the efforts and the cattle that they've led in here to me this morning and this afternoon. Just far and away, easily the most competitive breed that we've seen at the Arizona National so far. With that said, I think they were all very, very good. I think there's a pair of females that today have to win because they're just more show ring ready. They're further along in terms of their advancement. They're just really good. And that female that's going to get left standing of this group is the one in 60 to 90 days. She's probably going to make a fool out of me because she's one that's just elite in terms of her look. She's just not ready here today. So the two heifers out of the middle division will be grand and reserved. Congratulations to both of them.
Our champion Hereford female today is entry 7703, shown by Madison Fisher. Our reserve champion Hereford female is entry 5854, shown by Kylan Oakes. Madison will also be receiving a boot bag sponsored by Larry and Phyllis Stark. We will now be moving right into our Hereford Bull Show. Coming into the ring will be Class 31 Spring Bull Calves. We've entry 5847, exhibited by Vanderwood Herberts.
I'm on the side.
Come on, buddy. He's working on the turf.
Oh, okay, thank you.
start off the bull show here in a really exceptional place to start. I don't know if you can draw one off any better in just terms of lines and balance and look. Just beautiful in terms of the poise and presence that he has, and yet he's still very mobile and athletic in terms of his stride, good enough in terms of his muscularity and dimension for this stage of his development, one that's very hard to knock a big hole in. Congratulations to you.
First place in Class 31 went to entry 5847, exhibited by Vanderwerf Herefords. Coming into the ring next will be Class 32 Junior Bull Calf, entry 5845, shown by Vanderwerf Herefords.
Just let her hang tight right there for a minute. Are you okay, babe? Come on, big boy. Have her stay right there.
I am.
For the division. Come on, big boy.
Another just tremendous individual in this single entry class, and if you aren't impressed by this one's power and shape, density and mass, then we're probably not going to see cattle the same, because he has all that in spades. With that, he's masculine about his feature, sharp in terms of his look, and one that you just have to appreciate a lot of things about. When we first walked in here, he's sucking back on the halter and really didn't want to get out and go, but you study that one's angles and joints, and he's correct. When we made the corner, he gets on and goes, and we're good enough, very acceptable, and one that's just super stout and powerful. Congratulations to you.
First place in Class 32 went to entry 5845, shown by Vanderwerf Herefords. We'll be having these two bulls stay in the ring to compete for our Junior Bull Calf Champion.
Did you tell her to stop behind the other one? Come on.
Well, really a dynamic duo of bulls in this first division, and this is kind of the same song second verse as the champion female selection. There's just one today that has to win because he's so much more show ring ready, just really tremendous in terms of his shape and power. Again, in 2 or 3 months this might change, but today we're going to use the older bull to be champion, the younger bull to be reserved. Give him a nice round of applause.
Our champion Junior Bull Calf went to entry 5845, exhibited by Vanderwerf Herefords. Our reserve champion Junior Bull Calf went to entry 5847, exhibited by Vanderwerf Herefords. Coming into the ring next will be Class 33 Winter Bull Calves. We have entry 6069, shown by Dylan DeMoss.
This one is actually a mini Hereford bull and a single entry division winner here. November 17, as the young lady here tells me, one that you really appreciate the straightness and strength of lines and top. He's one that you could stouten up in terms of his bone and foot, make him go with a little more width at the ground. But a nice one nonetheless. Give him a good round of applause.
First place and our fall bull calf champion went to entry 6069, shown by Dylan DeMoss. We'll have Dylan stay in the ring as we bring back in entry 5854, Vanderwerf Herefords, as our Junior Bull Calf champion to compete for our overall Hereford Bull. We'll let the two champions walk for a bit and then have entry 5847, exhibited by Vanderwerf Herefords, our Junior Bull Calf Reserve champion, follow. Our champion Hereford Bull will be receiving a banner sponsored by Buckman Springs Cattle. And they will also be receiving a boot bag sponsored by Mountain View Hereford Ranch, our reserve champion will be receiving a banner sponsored by the Arizona National Livestock Show.
Well, only a trio of Hereford bulls to choose from and select, so unfortunately one's going to get left out here, but they're all three very, very good. With that said, there's a logical thing that you have to do in deciding the Grand and Reserve. One of them out here is just a man amongst boys here today. That's the one out of the first division. That one will be the Grand. We'll follow up with one that I think's got a great deal of future and promise in the Reserve in that division to be this Reserve Supreme. Give them a nice round of applause.
Our champion Hereford bull went to entry 5845, exhibited by Vanderwerk Herefords, and our reserve champion Hereford bull went to entry 5847, also exhibited by Vanderwerk Herefords. The open cattle show will be resuming at 12:45 in this outside show ring with our Showhorn breeding show.
Thanks for tuning in to the Open Hereford Show at 12:45. We will be having the Open Shorthorn Show, and be sure to tune in live.